What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Halo Infinite video, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the complete beginner's guide to Halo Infinite. For those of you who haven't played Halo ever or need a solid refresher, with the release of the game I thought I would be going over everything you need to know from start to finish, so by the end of the video you're going to know everything you need to start to dominate Halo with ease. So let's break it all down, but do yourself a favor and smash that like, subscribe so you don't miss out on any Halo content, news, and guides that we have on this channel. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. Now, Halo is a fast-paced multiplayer arena shooter developed by 343 for both Xbox and PC alike. Now, while Halo doesn't have any unique characters, instead everyone plays as Spartans, super soldiers that can literally flip tanks with one hand. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't any combat diversity from one character to the next, because there's a multitude of different weapons, abilities that you could pick up, not to mention vehicles in the non-ranked game modes and campaign. Now, when breaking down the weapons, the easiest way to learn is to divide them into three separate categories. The first category is bullet-based weapons, which are humanoid weapons. They're gonna look something more traditional, and these weapons include weapons like the battle rifle, the assault rifle, and the sniper rifle, where they are shooting bullets rather than some sort of alien projectile, which leads us to the plasma-based weapons that the aliens or the Covenant use, and this is stuff like the pulse carbine and the plasma pistol, typically projectile-based weapons that shoot a non-humanoid substance at the enemy. Now, the key differences between these type of weapons generally is that plasma-based weapons are going to be far more effective at breaking down the shields of a target, and the bullet-based weapons are going to be far better at killing a target once they have no shields, with many of them being able to one-shot kill in the head after the shields are destroyed. Also, there's plenty of weapons that don't fit into any category that are very unique to the game of Halo. Weapons like the skewer, or the energy sword, a melee weapon, or the gravity hammer, which is literally a hammer that warps gravity around it and can easily kill enemies or launch vehicles into the sky. Now, we do gotta talk about the shields in Halo, because each Spartan is going to have a shield bar that will effectively double your health. Now, when shields are depleted, you do have a health bar that will also recharge as your shields recharge, and this all recharges after a certain amount of time has passed without you taking any damage. Now, this means that there are no healing items in Halo, simply time equals health, and getting a kill and living means that it's very similar to you never dying at all because you're back at full fighting force. The best way to describe it for those of you who have played other games, specifically battle royales like Apex and Fortnite, is imagine an enemy, whenever they go around a corner out of your LOS, starts popping a Phoenix kit or a Chug Jug, and it gets popped at a much faster rate than it would be in those games. Now, this creates fights that are very unique to Halo, where healing can be prevented with the slightest bit of damage, focus fire can allow kills without trades, and there's a lot of pressure to finish off weakened enemies. Now, on top of this, many of you might be unfamiliar with Halo's higher than average time to kill, specifically for those of you who have never played a Halo before. Now, Halo actually has very similar time to kill to games like Apex and Fortnite, but those games have transparent damage numbers that pop up when you deal damage, but instead, with Halo Infinite, visual cues will help you understand when enemies are weak. Enemy shields lighting up very bright means that they're about to crack, and enemies that have a crackle around them means that they have no shield at all. Now, remember what we talked about before. One shot with a precision bullet weapon, like a battle rifle or a sidekick, will instantly kill someone with no shields with that headshot. Now, we also got to talk about Halo's items, because there are many of them. Invisibility, overshield, grapple, thrust. Each is a single-use item or have a set amount of charges. Now, each will also have tactical uses in both ranked and casual play, and specifically set item spawns and weapon spawns are one of the key aspects in Halo competitive design as a whole. One of the questions that have actually existed since the dawn of time is, how do you penalize camping in games? Because in the real world, camping is a valid strategy, but no one wants to hear that camping is something that is a part of a competitive game, especially a fast-paced one. Halo answers the camping problem by allowing battlefields and abilities to be put on the map with a timed spawn. In addition to that, many of these are powerful enough to change the course of a battlefield or a team fight, and they often force engagements to happen. If one team wants to camp around in a certain location, they're going to be losing all of the value and potential impact of many of these weapons or abilities. Another thing to take note of is typically the more powerful or more impactful a weapon or ability is, the more likely it's going to be in open, easily contestable space. Meaning that if one person wants to go achieve or grab that weapon or ability, they're gonna have to fight for it in a very open area that is basically the antithesis of camping anywhere on the map. Now, a quick look at the device item spawn. Underneath where an item or weapon spawns, you can see a ticking circle that fills up, and once it's full, the item or weapon will spawn. This can also help you decide whether to hold out and wait for something to spawn in or move along because it's going to take far too long and you want to get back into the action. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is everyone's favorite, grenades. Grenades are an integral part of Halo, and understanding them is very important. This is often one of the first complaints I hear when new players enter the game, Halo, for the first time. They complain often about grenade spam. Now, this is because grenades are aplenty on the battlefield, and you also will spawn in with a lot of grenades, and especially for ranked play, grenade spam can feel pretty jarring when you first run into it. Now, grenades are useful in many ways and they help enhance the combat, and they're very important. The first thing is AoE, which is area denial. If an enemy is occupying a space, getting them out of said space with grenades can force them to run away. On top of that, you can use it strategically to win a 1v1 by bouncing it on the ground only for it to explode right in front of an enemy, which potentially can finish them off or break their shields so that you can finish them off with a headshot. And then last up, you can use them to even blast a weapon towards you so that you can grab it, because many of the weapons will be moved by the explosion of a grenade. Now, for ranked players in particular, one of the most frustrating things that can happen is dealing a lot of damage to an enemy and they actually get to hide out of your line of sight in the middle of the open but behind some sort of obstruction. A grenade can punish that player without you individually having to run all the way around the obstacle, because if you did damage to that enemy from afar, running out or chasing after them can get you killed in the process, or by the time you get close enough to finish off the enemy, they're gonna be back to full fighting force with a regenerated shield. Now, if you're really struggling with grenade spam, what you need to understand is that if you show your presence in a single location for too long, expect multiple grenades to fly your way, and oftentimes it's better to put a little bit of pressure in one location only to move often and be ready to move at any given moment. Next up in Halo, we gotta talk about movement. Unlike many other games, there's zero movement and accuracy with your gun. That means jumping and shooting, thrusting and shooting, grappling, jiggle peeking. All of these are aspects that you can incorporate in Halo without any needed counter strafe or any slowdown in your movement in order to actually improve the quality of your aim accuracy. Now, some things are gonna put you in a fixed movement that doesn't carry momentum, like the thruster, while other things are gonna actually allow you to maintain movement momentum. For example, the grappling hook will maintain most of your momentum, so the way you use these items are going to be fundamentally different because of just how much movement is applied and what is actually taken away momentum-wise. Now, the next thing that we got to talk about is aiming in Halo. There is no headshot multiplier while the enemy has shields, and this is very important for those of you who have drilled fundamentals of crosshair placement, always aiming for the head. Unlike many games that greatly reward you for aiming for the head, Halo only does so after the shields are broken. Now, once the shields are broken, remember what we talked about with precision-based bullet weapons. Those are gonna one-shot headshot, but until that point, you're typically gonna wanna aim center mass so that the majority of your shots hit, and they're fundamentally easier shots because you're aiming at a bigger target, only to aim for the head when the shields are about to break or already broken so that you can actually get that one-tap finish on the enemy and a much faster time to kill. Now, in the open sandbox, there are plenty of vehicles that you can incorporate in the non-ranked game modes, things like mongooses that can allow an ally to ride on the back of it, or even full-blown flying vehicles like the Banshee that allow you to rain from the skies. Now, while these vehicles exist and are very powerful, there's also many items or weapons that can disable vehicles when you're playing up against them. For example, the dynamo grenades are grenades that not only shock the shields of a large radius, but will disable any vehicles that they touch. On top of that, the disruptor pistol is able to temporarily disable any vehicle that it touches, so these are strategic weapons that you can use to shut down vehicles if you are getting destroyed by them over and over again. Last up, I want to talk about the various modes in Halo. From Big Team Battle, which is a very huge map of scale with vehicles and weapons, going down to smaller modes where you're playing 4v4, or even jumping into ranked mode where it's a 4v4 game where you're battling for rank up and rank increase up against every single player in the world to try to become the top rank Onyx or climb through Onyx to the top tiers of play. Now, inside the ranked game mode, there's 4 key modes. There's oddball, trying to secure a ball that you have to hold on to gain points. There's capture the flag, trying to capture up to 5 flags and bring it and secure it back to your flag's home base while your flag is still there, up to 5 points or having more points when the time runs out. There's stronghold, trying to control the majority of 3 zones. And if you control the majority, you're gonna gain points. And when you gain enough points, you're gonna be winning the game. And last up is classic Slayer, where you're just trying to get more kills than the enemy and die far less. Now, these are the current game modes right now, but many more are probably going to be added down the line, with 343 developing them in the future. And on top of that, there are many classic Halo game modes currently not in the game, like SWAT, Infection, and different game modes that are going to add some variety down the line. And while they're not in the game at the time of this recording, I have no doubt that they'll be added to the game very, very soon. And you could be listening to this while they're already in the game. Now, overall, I think that this is a great guide from a beginner's point of view, introduction to Halo and the Halo universe. I really hope you learned something, and if you have any questions, definitely let us know down below, and I'm sure myself or another Halo veteran would love to answer it. In the next couple of days, the Halo Infinite website will launch that instead of a beginner's guide, will have in-depth advanced guides and courses that is going to help you climb the ladder. So you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes peeled for that, but thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.